School Days is an anime I recently watched, and oh boy, fan service. So much fan service. And just saying, these are kids, like they're 15, but you know, it's anime, so yeah, apparently this is acceptable. So if you don't like the topic of sex and violence relating to underage children, this probably isn't the anime for you, and so this probably isn't the video for you. Remember, if you like this video in any way, shape or form, then like, and if you want to see more thematic breakdowns of anime, then make sure to subscribe. Now on to the breakdown. So, a bit of background. I went into this anime with an open mind. I'd heard from a friend it was trash, and that was all, but she thinks Alexis is a good anime, so what does she know? Now, School Days isn't a bad anime. I wouldn't say I loved it, but I wouldn't say I hated it. As the show went on, I just got annoyed at the characters and was starting to dislike the show in the latter half. Until the ending. Oh dear lord, the bloody ending. And by the way, yes, there will be spoilers in this video, you have been warned. So if you don't know, gore and horror is not my thing. I'm an absolute wet when it comes to that shit. I mean, come on. People that like getting scared are just people who want to see the world burn. Anywho, the ending was unexpected, and as such was not what I expected. I didn't just peace out when Sekai pulled the knife, but I'll admit I felt a bit uneasy watching it, because again, I am wet. Now why am I lingering on the ending so much? Well, there was a good reason, as after I watched the ending, the whole show kinda made sense to me. Rewatching the show, for the sake of this video, I realised the whole show is one big metaphor, and that blew me away. Now, as you know by now, I love a good analysis of anime, so when I realised this, I jumped at the opportunity to write this script, and 2 weeks later, I'm finally filming it. Now what is the metaphor? Well, I'm glad you asked. This show is a physical representation of the human mind and its relationship with relationships. Wow, a romance that's about relationships. I've never seen that before, but cease your chattering as it goes deeper. And I think I also have a reason for why the fan service is there, and I will justify it even though in reality it's just there to get the weebs to have a big pee-pee in their lederhosen. Now, as the show progresses, the way relationships and romance is depicted slowly gets more intense. At first we have a boy taking pictures of a girl he loves, I mean totally not a stalker, and then dating her. He then gets bored of her because she is a good Christian girl and cheats on her to have a sexual relationship with Sekai. Still following? Then he gets bored with that girl and goes full player, plowing all the girls in the school, and then Sekai kills him. Now think about it. The show progresses from dates with only bikini shots for fan service to sex with fan service involving mild sex scenes to full-on violence, and the fan service changing to mature visuals of another kind, which I won't show on screen for obvious reasons. I don't want to get demonetized. Get it? Because I don't get monetized anyway, because no one watches these. Ha ha ha, funny joke. Now I've set out what I think is the premise of the show, let's look at each of the 3 main characters and how they fit this theme of the human mind becoming more broken over time. Let's start with Katsura, because she's easily worst girl. Now Katsura starts off as a shy girl who doesn't like sexual things, and over the show matures. Because she doesn't like the naughty stuff, she gets cold shouldered and then dumped. She then goes completely crazy, thinks he's dating Makoto even when she's not. She becomes so dependent on him that when he leaves her, she literally breaks. Now throughout the show we are shown that Katsura deals with her problems via isolation. At school she is bullied and spends all her time alone. When she is pushed away Makoto, she stays at home alone, doing a lot of damn knitting. Makoto is the only person she can talk to, the only person she can rely on. She's completely dependent on him. As such, I believe that Katsura represents the dependency of human relationships. Next is easily best girl Sekai, and unlike how Katsura didn't like sexual things, Sekai loved it. So much she manipulated Makoto to break up with Katsura to be with her instead. She, like Katsura, really cares for Makoto, but in a more, let's say, physical way. Now moving on to best boy Makoto, he is a very dynamic character and is a great model for the sexual desires in a relationship. Makoto starts off wanting to date a girl, and he succeeds. He tries to make it work, but when Katsura won't take the relationship to the next level, he gets bored and sees her as more of a hassle. He then turns to Sekai, who can please him in the way he wants, and after she isn't enough turns to the other girls, not caring about the feelings of the girls he is meant to be in relationships with. Now although I'm not saying his actions are morally just, I'm saying he is, at the end of the day, an inexperienced boy and is allowed to do these things. When Katsura sees him on the roof kissing Sekai, she doesn't confront him and instead goes into isolation. Since he isn't stopped there, in his mind there's nothing wrong with what him and Sekai are doing, using the guise of training to sleep with him. He sees what he's doing as not wrong. And although Makoto is shown many times conflicted by his feelings, like when he sees all the text messages from Katsura, at the end of the day he still chooses to put his own sexual desires first, as at no point is he reprimanded for doing so. Makoto did start out as a nice guy. I remember how he tried his very best to be with Katsura, consulting books and the what, even if this was in the end not the best move. He started out trying so hard, and by the time Katsura started to try herself, he found the relationship tiring and moved on. He is a teenage boy after all, and has a short attention span. Over time he is corrupted by lust, and at the end of the show has got to the point where all he finds satisfying is sex. And why shouldn't he? As I keep hammering on, he is never reprimanded for this, so in his mind it really isn't that bad. This is shown by how when Sekai is worried about Katsura, when they are basically cheating for like 5 episodes straight, all Makoto cares about is making out with her, as his lust overpowers his care for Katsura, until Sekai gets pregnant and then he turns back to Katsura, as she is now ready to let him touch her, which is what he cares for. By this part in the show, he doesn't see girls as individuals, and when Katsura is the only girl left, he rolls with it. Now we're in the endgame, the pregnancy kerfuffle. As we saw at the end of the show, where Sekai is literally gutted like a fish, there is no baby. Shocker. I know, and although Katsura is an unreliable narrator, I'm going to go with her narrative for this video. At first I thought Sekai represented a different aspect of relationships, but now I disagree. Like how Katsura convinced herself she was still dating Makoto due to her need to be dependent on someone, Sekai was pretending to be pregnant in order to keep Makoto around and ensure her dependence on him would continue. Now whether Sekai actually thought she was pregnant is up to debate. Personally I think she generally thought she was pregnant, but it's all up to your own interpretation. When Sekai thinks Makoto is going to leave her, like she made him do to Katsura, she got scared and used the pregnancy thing as a defense mechanism. When her fears are realised, she accepts he will leave her and comes to view him for what he is. Sekai finally sees what Makoto is, a man who doesn't care for the woman he sleeps with, shown by how hesitant he was at the prospect of Sekai being pregnant. So she kills him. She snaps, much like Katsura did when she was thrown aside, and ends him. However, most disturbing is what Katsura does, lopping off the head and then killing Sekai. In Katsura's twisted, broken mind, she got everything she wanted. Makoto is dead and will always be by her side, never able to cheat on her with another girl, and Sekai is dead and so can never be with him. So in summary, a boy who has never had a relationship gets with a girl who also had never had a relationship. They're both mature but at different paces. The boy wants more sexual things and over time degrades to the point where he only wants sex, while the girls grow so dependent they cannot be alone. It is a complete contrast as Makoto gets bored with girls quickly and Katsura becomes so dependent on a boy she can't bear to be without him. Neither are ideal and are both two extremes of a relationship. Only when Sekai is pushed away from Makoto does she realise the two mental extremes her former friends have come to. The ideas conveyed in school days are cynical and worrying. The fact that something as pure as love and relationships, something most people desire, could lead to such a horrific outcome is haunting. School Days is an anime that shows the greatest extremes that human mind can come to when experiencing the complex thing that is love and relationships. It can be seen as a cautionary tale or as a dark exploration of the human mind when presented with the worst of situations. It explores lust and dependency in normal developing kids in a very impactful way, and such is an anime I am glad I have watched. And remember, this is all just my view of the show, and as such, feel free to disagree with me, and if you do, comment down below as I'd love to discuss this all with you. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you want to see more thematic breakdowns and analyses of anime, then make sure to subscribe to this channel. I do a variety of different anime, so you're sure to find something you like. With that said, I've been Seth the Sin, the Deadly Sin of Geek, and I'm signing out.